Yo guys, welcome to the last lap.
Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it.
Most chaotic team pairing.
Oof.
So which pair of teammates are going to have the most loggerheads?
Mate, this is a no-brainer.
No-brainer for you.
Do you reckon? Straight in?
No-brainer. Mercedes. George Russell and Sir Lewis Hamilton. Look, exactly the point that we just made about Ferrari. If they are competing for a championship, listen, all these guys are going to get killed on Twitter for saying this because everything's all pally-pally and flowers and peace and love.
Friends.
Yeah, they're all friends, of course. They don't want to kill each other, but we know who George Russell is, right?
Yeah.
Look at every time he's talking about the championship, look at his body language and listen to the words that are coming out of his mouth. Optimization. I want to win a championship. I'm not here to be anybody's second driver.
He's got that dog in him.
Mate, he's got that dog in him and he's got teeth and claws. He's not looking to play second driver to anybody. He just doesn't, it's not in his fabric nor his DNA. It's not who he is. Jack Aitken. They saw that overtaking GP2. He's Max Verstappen 2.0. Every bit as aggressive. Yeah. And it's all right when we're competing for fourth and fifth or whatever, but we're talking about drivers' championships. Mate, at some point, sadly, as a Sir Lewis Hamilton fan, those guys are going to come together on track.
And up against
100%.
Lewis, who's like
Well,
completely
we almost had that at
unwavering.
Zandvoort, didn't we?
Yeah.
Zandvoort was close. That was so close.
Mate, yeah.
That's a few centimetres in a different direction. There's
And that's
a whole
and that's a
nother...
techie manoeuvre from Lewis as well. Like, you're not meant to... Do you know what I mean? Mate, I'm telling you, 100%, take this to the bank, hot take last lap. Those guys, it is going to get techie between those guys at some point. Sadly, for me as a Sir Lewis Hamilton fan, but it's only a matter of time. I had a story in F1 history, right? Let's be honest. If you have two drivers capable of winning a championship, Senna, Prost, Alonso and Sir Lewis Hamilton 07, like it always happens.
It's inevitable.
Right?
You can't have two number one drivers if you're fighting at the front. The only time Mercedes made it work was because their car was clear in 2014.
Right.
They didn't have to worry about anyone else.
Yeah.
On a long enough timeline, the survival rate always 0. Can't have two number one drivers in the car. And long term, it's a brilliant play from Toto Wolff. But in the short to medium term, I think they could be.
Yeah, right here, right now, it's going to be next. Obviously, you know, you've got an immediate replacement for Lewis when he does decide to retire. Beautiful stuff. That's great. You know, that. But yeah, for now,
This transitional period.
Period could actually be crazy. I didn't think about that.
And how much patience can one man have? So Lewis Hamilton's he's burdened with all the development and the extra kilogram or whatever grams. Like, he has been super patient last season, right? Mate, he's a patron saint, but that patience can only last for so long. At some point, mate, inevitable.
There is no way, like, especially after 2022, that Lewis is going to
He's not having that.
be prepared for anything other than a car that can compete and perform.
Yeah, 1,000, yeah.
Not having it at all. Not having it. And even George, was it, do you remember, like, I can't remember the race. Maybe it was Brazil. Do you remember George was like, listen, anybody else, and I would have run him off the... Do you remember when Lewis hung him out to dry in the exit of like turn 3?
Yeah.
And George was like,
I remember
anybody else,
Yeah.
and I'm running them into the barrier. Mate, he's telling you everything you need to know. It's going to, at some
Dropping
point...
those little...
Lewis is going to
these
become
little
anybody else next season.
At some point, chaps,
And look,
sadly.
Lewis has got the XNDA.
XNDA, yeah.
Yeah. Diss track.
Drop some bars, man.
Drop some bars. Drop some heat on George next season.
Mate.
I want to see an EP of disses on George Russell.
Phenomenal. What do you reckon, Niran? Because there's a lot of...
There's some honourable mentions here, I think.
there's a lot of
definitely.
very good arguments.
Yeah, so
driver pairings.
we've got obviously the French connection at Alpine, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly.
Allez les bleus.
Long-running dislike of each other. Oh, God, I've just thought about the World Cup.
sorry,
It didn't come home. It didn't come home. For anyone, just spoiler alert, it didn't come home.
Come on, Messi.
Yeah,
Come on, Messi.
Let's go. Echo
I hear that. So you've got obviously the long-standing rivalry and dislike of each other there. You know, they've been posting like, "Oh yeah, we're friends again." They ain't friends.
BS.
They ain't friends. That was just like a little bit of PR.
Yeah, I think if their relationship has improved, I think them being teammates at a competitive team is going to quickly undo.
all momentum and movement
You
that they
can't
have.
have two number one, and they're both going to want to be number one.
Yeah,
Oldest
Ocon's
story
been
in
there
F1
for a
history.
while. Gasly is a household name who's been the top of the midfield. Obviously not last season, but had been the top of the midfield for a little while.
Yeah.
His stock was extremely high before last season, maybe lowered a little bit, but not like that crazily. It's a good driver lineup, and it's pretty even and equal as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like I can't really. I think I'd lean towards Gasly if it came down to it, but it's going to be very close.
I don't know
between those
about that,
two.
you know, Niran. I think I've always rated Ocon.
Ocon's great as well.
I think he's got something. I think he's got something.
that dog
for
in him
Ocon
as
has
well.
to beat Gasly.
I think
he
he's got
has
some.
to, yeah, he
I
has
think
to.
he'll.
Pressure's on.
I think he's got. I think he's a talented driver, Ocon. Like one of the last ones to beat Verstappen.
He took it to Fernando a number of times over the last 2 years.
Tommo, what's that saying? If you rate Alonso, what's that saying by extension?
It's true.
Mate.
Just realised as well. Do you remember all the little incidents that obviously Fernando and Ocon? I mean, I know it's Fernando Alonso. He has incidents with everybody, but the little squeeze at Budapest, and Fernando was like, "I've never seen anyone defend like that." The incidents in Brazil.
Zandvoort, they had a Zandvoort
Exactly,
squeeze
yeah.
as well.
Obviously, Alonso was involved, but so was Ocon. A lot of them came from like very, very aggressive defensive manoeuvres.
Yep.
Despite the fact that it was your teammate, there's then the long-standing sort of, we don't like each other sort of vibe as well. That could get crazy.
Yeah, it all went from what was it? Ocon picked up Alonso after he won and spun around in celebration.
Hungary.
How quickly, just how fast the night changes.
Yes, quite.
These guys will kill each other.
I think
This is
another honourable mention. One I'm interested to see because I think on paper it should be a bit dodge, but I think their characters. It's easy to think that it won't be.
I think I know where you're going with it.
I'm not saying though. I'm just honourable mention Norris Piastri
I knew you were going to go there.
because Lando obviously is going to want to do exactly what he did to Daniel, to Oscar, to establish himself, and he wants that McLaren to be the package to take him to a world championship, and hopefully it will be. But then obviously Piastri's coming in with all this pressure, all this expectation, all this drama that's unfolded around Alpine. He's coming into this seat. He's replacing his countryman who's got bodied by Norris, let's be real. And he's going to want to do everything to prove that he can make up for the shortfalls that Daniel had, and he can adapt to this package, which being a younger driver, a bit more malleable in terms of picking up the style of this weird McLaren.
Nailed it there.
Like, I think that they're both drivers with a huge amount to prove. Lando's not going to be... You talk about patience with Lewis. Lando, I think, now is in the position where he knows if he gets a race-winning car, he can... As much as he hasn't won a race, he knows he can hang there. He knows he can do it. Of course he can do it.
I think, Tommo, you've nailed it there with the nuance of that, the technical difficulties that Danny Rick had driving that McLaren. It's a diva of a car, right? And I think ultimately the length of service, the experience that Lando's got will make that partnership less techie. I think Oscar's got a massive challenge ahead of him learning how to drive that McLaren. Brand new in the sport, brand new in F1. Lando, of course, is no bloody slouch. I don't think that will be as techie just because Lando will have a durable competitive advantage over Mr. Piastri. I don't think, not yet, at least, not next season.
Maybe further on in the future, once Piastri's got sort of like an idea of
To learn how to drive
the car properly, and you see that proper pace come out of him. Because Piastri's a great driver as well. I mean, that's a sensational driver lineup.
Back to back
if we're
to
being
back.
honest.
He's
Championships.
Yeah, I mean...
He's sick.
That's
The guy-
Leclerc. That's Leclerc Russell numbers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, he is that type of driver. Like he is that guy that. I mean, obviously, you've had varying successes of that sort of come up before. I mean, Van Dorn was just super unlucky in a terrible car. But as soon as you give someone the car that's good enough to show the skill they have in Formula One, you see like a Leclerc and a George Russell who just do champion come ups through F3, F4, GP3, and F2. It's mad.
It is mad.
But bro, it's another level to come into a series and have a car that's unstable under braking. If you've ever raced any type of car ever and tried to brake and then you experience this instability, it is disconcerting, chaps. Trying to drive a car 10 tenths, 10 tenths and unstable under braking. FFS, lads, that's tough to deal with, right, and overcome, especially if you're a rookie, notwithstanding the fact that
need to get on
Oscar's got
top of that.
pedigree. Mate,
McLaren
but do
need
they?
to-
Because Lando's, it's techie, Tommo.
Lando's making it work, but also Lando's making noises that he's not fully happy with the car.
I also give another honourable mention.
Go on.
Fernando Alonso versus Lance Stroll.
Stealthy.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Stealthy. I was going to mention.
That's good.
Because
That's good.
Lance is a man who he is a man, in fact, who can get involved in collisions.
He's been known to, yes. You're right.
Fernando
You're
is a
not wrong
man
there.
that does not enjoy being involved in collisions, especially with his teammate. And I feel that those two worlds could ironically quite literally collide.
Can I see you that, Niran, and raise you that Lance's dad is also fairly influential, I hear, at the team.
I hear.
And Fernando Alonso.
Rumour has it.
Rumour has it. Word on the street.
In addition to that fact, Fernando Alonso isn't a dude who takes instruction from said authority figures. Well, if past is president. Just had those.
All I'll say is if that incident in Austin between Stroll and Alonso happens with any other driver, there is no way Alonso is essentially being like, it happens, wasn't really his fault. He knows full well that is his future teammate. And even more importantly, the son of the man who is going to be responsible potentially for giving him a championship winning car, his last opportunity.
It's like when you're young and you play football, like Sunday League or whatever, and there's the one Don he's not good, but he somehow plays left wing every week because his dad's the coach. You don't bring him up on that. You don't bring him up on that because his dad's the coach. You're getting left on the bench next week.
Do you remember yours growing up? The dad was Ian, the kid was Sean. That was,
the dad.
I remember.
Yeah,
dropping names, sorry.
Oh,
it was true.
The son was Kieran. He was okay, to be fair, but so he kind of allowed it. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, I will tell you what, though, it'd be interesting to see. I'd love, as a part-time Fernando Alonso fan, to see them give him a car that's capable of winning races and championships. Because
we know he's at the level.
He is ridiculous, chap. Sack off the outcomes. Look at the processes last season. He was nailing it, doing all these crazy things, cleaning the grid to set up the overtake around Austria, around the outside, turn one Magnus. He's levels, lads, and it'd be a shame, a travesty.
He's thinking ahead.
Mate,
he's 1,000
racing IQ.
Yeah.
100%. So, will that be the most chaotic team pair? Are you sticking to Hamilton, Russell, Cam?
I feel like it's more inevitable that Mercedes come together. It's been building, right? It's been bubbling for at least 12 months now, and at some point, God forbid, it upsets me to say it, those two are going to come together potentially with Alonso and Lance. That will happen at some stage.
Yeah.
But if I'm a betting man and I'm betting my mortgage,
You bet a new mortgage
mate,
on this one.
Mercedes, take it to the bank every single time. It's going to happen.
What are you saying?
I'm going to go for Aston Martin. I agree in the sense that there is definitely going to be a coming together between George and Lewis. There's going to be tension there, especially if they're fighting over a championship. But I also feel that the different specific moments you're going to get out of Alonso and Stroll, you're going to get some ridiculous shit out of that, bro. You're going to get some stupid team radios. You're going to get incidents. You're going to get crazy interviews. You're going to just get mad shit because Lance Stroll's dad is such a high investor. It's just going to be crazy. So in terms of just like from a chaos perspective,
Yep.
I see a lot of chaos coming from that.
Chaos,
perspective.
and that's the category.
Oh, stealthy one, mate. Ferrari.
He was about to say.
Look at that.
My pick is Ferrari. We've not even mentioned them yet, but Ferrari, you've got Vasseur coming in, who's very close to Charles, and arguably going to be pushing that Charles first driver narrative. You can be forgiven for thinking that. But then you've got Carlos's camp, which is very strong. You've got his brother or cousin, whoever it is, who's his. You've got Santander, big part of it. His dad's knocks about the paddock a lot in terms of Carlos Sainz Senior. He's got a lot of influence.
Spanish strategist still at Ferrari.
Listen, I think that, and also the fact that Carlos, I think, is close to Charles and will push Charles. We talk about this year with Perez and Verstappen, for example. Perez, he's not close enough to Verstappen to really be a continual problem over the course of a season. I think Carlos is close enough to Charles. you forget, like, he outscored Charles. I don't think he outdrove Charles in 21, but he outscored him. And he was, like, I'm not being funny, if it wasn't for a few first lap bozo incidents, which some were his fault, some weren't.
Would have been very close to it.
Would have been closer to Charles in 22. So I'm actually going to say Ferrari. That's who I'm saying for most chaotic team pairing. And we're going to leave it at that.
It's a good shout.